I'm 300 plus pounds, and I got the sexiest song in the world on right now.
This is another sad tale of the greatest rap king in hip-hop history. How did he spiral down a dark path? Why did no one try to help him? Was there a reason his work remained uncredited? What happened to the money he acquired from his bestsellers? Why did his family have to suffer when he was making it big in his career? Let's look at the tragic story of Big Pun. Stay tuned. The harsh realities of Big Pun's childhood. Born November 10, 1971, Big Pun was another legend who showcased what the natives of South Bronx were known for. Big Pun joined many other icons in hip-hop and changed the industry with his unique rap style. He was known as one of the best when it came to tongue twisters and breath control. Call him Big Punisher, Big Dog, The Punisher, or Big Moon Dog. You'll still be talking about Big Pun. He went with many names before he settled for Big Pun, a shortened form of Big Punisher. He wasn't just a rapper. He was that rapper who brought the swag and sauce. Let's unpack the story of this great icon and discover why his life became tragic, despite his success in hip-hop. Christopher Lee Rios, famously known as Big Pun, had Puerto Rican ancestry but grew up in the Soundview neighborhood of South Bronx, New York City. He wasn't the only child. Big Pun had 2 sisters and a brother. However, he didn't have a peaceful childhood. His family had many challenges that would affect any child's mind, much less the light-hearted Big Pun. He had a close relationship with his mom, but all that changed when his father, Dave Rios, broke the family. His mom caught Dave cheating with another woman. She couldn't deal with the betrayal and soon turned to substance use after her divorce. She went from being a nurturing mother to a woman who was deeply high and lost in her world. She tried to get over the unhealthy habit and it worked. Pun's mother later married a second husband who, unknown to her, was into substance use. It wasn't long before Pun's mom slipped into her old habits. This time it was worse. She couldn't take care of Big Pun and his siblings because she wasn't in the right frame of mind. Big Pun lost the affection he once received from his mother, and his living environment became toxic. His stepfather became wicked to him. He would randomly throw hard objects at Big Pun and make him do strenuous exercises in the middle of the night. The constant wickedness and deprived affection from his mom took a toll on Big Pun. His siblings couldn't do anything to help him. They recounted how their stepfather always compared Big Pun and made him feel inferior. At 15, Big Pun stopped living with his family as he was forced to move out of the house. It also meant that he had to leave high school. Growing up in a city where a lot of mayhem happened on the street, one would worry about Big Pun's future. He no longer had education as a distractor. He became tempted by illegal vices on the streets of the Bronx. Big Pun sold illicit substances to survive but quit after he spent a night in jail. Pun faced the realities of the world at a young age. After leaving his parents' house, he became homeless. Survival became a struggle for him, as it was hard to get by every day. He was only 15, so being alone and without a guardian must have felt scary. You would think he faced much pressure until you think about his little child on the way. Pun got Liza pregnant. She was his girlfriend at the time. Big Pun became a father at a young age and had no choice but to marry his high school love in 1990. When he got a settlement from the city after an accident in the park that left his leg broken at age 15, with this large settlement, he could start a family with Liza and his son. They got a house and had 2 more kids. Big Pun was into athletics from an early age. He loved basketball and trained as a boxer. Big Pun enjoyed reading and dedicated his time to building a hobby around books. He chose his interests around the things that later opened doors for him to discover his true passion. Big Pun began to love breakdancing and rap.
Things changed when Pun was 18. He finally won a lawsuit against the city of New York for an accident he had.
He saw a future in hip-hop and created a group called Full Eclipse Crew. Along with the funky name, he decided to call himself the Big Moon Dog. Yes, this was where one of his many names came from. Big Pun soon realized how well he could play with words. His rhymes were complex and unique, so you could easily spot him in the group. Once Big Pun held the mic, he could go on rapping for as long as you wanted him to. He would even do it without taking a breath. Big Pun was determined to make it big in hop-hop, and this drive kept him going. He found a way of blending his love for athletics and hip-hop. He decided to trail a path when he noticed his connection with rap. Big Pun started writing rap lyrics at 1980 and soon found that many resonated with his talent. They loved how his rap lyrics related to their realities and everyday life in the Bronx. Big Pun blended his rap style by discussing stress, happiness, and job loss. Whatever message Big Pun passed to his audience found a way to their hearts. In the New York Times, it was said that Big Pun often described his rap style as sophisticated hardcore. After a while, he thought Big Punisher was more suited, so he stopped going by Big Moon Dog. But did it bring him closer to stardom? How did Big Pun break out in the hip-hop industry, making it big in the world of hip-hop? Pun's rise to fame began in 1995, and Fat Joe had everything to do with it. He was a successful rapper and producer who was good at making hit songs. Fat Joe's relationship with Big Pun wasn't just about music and business. They were good friends. Fat Joe was also from the Bronx and Puerto Rican, so they hit it fast. He listened to Big Pun's recordings and recognized his talents, so he gave him a spot on his second album, Jealous One's Envy. This move, unknown to Fat Joe, later marked the commercial debut of Big Pun. He was featured in the song Watch Out. Fat Joe had a rap group for Latino artists called the Tarot Squad, so he brought Big Pun into his team and helped with his first contract with his label, Loud Records. Big Pun was making headway as he had always wanted. With his talent in rap, it wasn't long before he got a break. In 1997, he released his single, I'm Not a Player, which received a top entry in the rap charts. It rose to number 3 as this new artist blew fans away. Big Pun put out his first album, Capital Punishment, and it was the turning point. He was the name on every lip as his album topped the hip-hop charts and peaked at number 5 on Billboard 200. It sold over 2 million copies and made Big Pun the first Latino rapper to go platinum. The Recording Industry Association of America gave him this certification. His growing popularity didn't exclude the Puerto Rican community. To them, he was a hero, an example of a young man who could take the world by storm. Big Pun also showed how proud he was of his roots with several song lyrics. Although he had a sad childhood, he was still proud of his heritage. He was often seen with the Puerto Rican flag saying to the world, I am a pace setter and I love my country. He significantly contributed to rap music, earning him a nomination at the 41st Grammy Awards. He was in the category of Best Rap Album. Can you imagine that? From a small city in New York, the world was listening to Big Pun. A producer named Nobody saw an opportunity and grabbed it. At the time, had a role at Loud Records, the label Big Pun was signed to. This gave him access to the sensational rapper. Nobody played his tracks to Big Pun and got hired to remix his breakout song, I'm Not a Player. Fat Joe featured in the remix, which the fans loved even more than the original recording. Big Pun went on to collaborate with many top musicians in hip-hop. His top features were vocal work in Pina Colada with rapper Sheek Louch. His fan base took an all-time high, and he became one of the most famous rap artists in hip-hop. Big Pun was fast becoming one of the greatest artists in hip-hop. No one could do it like him. Even those who tried copying his style couldn't deliver like he did. However, there was something wrong with Big Pun. He had an Achilles heel that threatened all he had worked for. What secrets did Big Pun have? Was it something to do with his childhood or how he rose to fame? Was he cheating on his wife? Let's find out. Big Pun's unhealthy habits and insecurities. Big Pun had an unhealthy habit. It wasn't drugs, gambling, or cheating. No, he had a food issue. It sounds crazy when you think about it, but it was a real problem for the hip-hop star. Have you ever wondered why the word big always found its way into all the names Christopher Rios called himself? He didn't call himself that name for no reason. He was big. Pun had an unhealthy love for food that he dragged along for many decades. It didn't happen with his rise to fame. It began in childhood. And then he struggled with eating habits in his adult life. A harmless meal that everyone had became a challenge for Big Pun because he couldn't control how often he satisfied his taste buds. As a child, Christopher Rios had a difficult time, and the torment never disappeared. Instead, it translated into an unhealthy passion for food. After dropping out of school and facing a rough childhood, Big Pun turned to food for comfort. It helped him deal with his nightmares. Big Pun thought the best way he could cope with the shadows haunting him from his early days was food, but it led to him overeating. He thought that by eating, his problems would disappear into thin air. When he felt the stress, he took it out on meals. Pun didn't know when to stop, and it slowly became an obsession. His wife recounted how Big Pun's food became his solution to every problem.
And with him, his addiction was food. So if he was upset, he ate.
He went from being a slim young man to an overweight fellow in a short while. It might not be a challenge because many people are overweight, but Big Pun's obsession with food got him to be obese. At 18, Big Pun weighed 180 IB, which was 82 kg. To the surprise of many, his weight skyrocketed to 300 IB, 140 kg, while he was 21 years old. It was clear to everyone that something was wrong with Big Pun. They knew something was abnormal about the way he was gaining weight. It was really bad, as his weight often swung between obese and morbid obesity. He wasn't sick physically, but he wasn't okay. Big Pun also knew he had a challenge, so he did something about it. He must have seen how dangerous it was to weigh his size. He registered at Duke University for a weight loss program in 1999. He was finally getting the help he needed. Big Pun felt encouraged and began to lose some of the weight he had gathered over the years from unhealthy eating habits. It might have been difficult without the meals and snacks he loved, but he was ready to shed the weight. Perhaps he looked up his childhood photos and couldn't recognize himself. It might have motivated him to work hard as he lost 80 pounds, but something unfortunate happened. Big Pun couldn't take the pressure from abstaining, so he quit the program at Duke University. There were reports that he was sneaking food into the facility before he ended up signing out. He took his things, saying he was going for a visit, and he never went back. You can guess what happened. Big Pun regained all the weight he had worked so hard to lose. Tying his shoelace became an impossible task for Big Pun, not because he didn't want to. He just couldn't reach for his legs. His weight got in the way. You might ask, how come no one stopped him? His friends tried to warn him about it. They didn't know much about calories, but knew Big Pun was heading off the bridge with his current weight. It became a constant topic of argument between him and his friends. It seemed Big Pun refused to agree with them. He felt good when he ate. It was the only thing that mattered to him. However, he needed to get his friends off his back, so he never ate when they were around. He no longer wanted to be the topic of discussion. He kept to a facade, which worked for him for many years. However, Big Pun's wife, Liza Rios, later explained that he was severely depressed, and although he tried to hide his struggles from his friends and associates, he was constantly eating behind closed doors. In an interview, Fat Joe said Big Pun's rehabilitation at Duke University was unrealistic and doomed to fail. They completely cut him off from what he often consumed and gave him meals that didn't satisfy his desires.
See, but it wasn't realistic.
He came back and gained it all back.
Because if they put you in a camp.
Fat Joe said it was expected that Big Pun would relapse right after leaving the facility. When his album Capital Punishment was released, Big Pun had reached 400 pounds in weight. It was a hassle to get him around. He couldn't do much with his current size and refused to go to the doctor. In an interview, Fat Joe said Big Pun had insecurities about visiting the doctors because he feared criticism. He never believed going to a hospital would help solve his weight problems, so he did nothing about it and steadily added more weight.
So Pun ain't really believe in going to the doctor to get himself checked or anything like that because he ain't want people looking at him.
Fat Joe reported that Big Pun's resistance to finding a solution was pride. He felt he had become a platinum holder with Billboard records, so he couldn't be in the news for anything besides music.
Another thing is just a lot of pride to where he felt like, yo, I'm double platinum, I'm rich, I'm the biggest nigga in the world.
He was so insecure about his size that he paid more attention to what people would think if his weight challenge came into the spotlight. Weight became a touchy discussion for Big Pun, and that led him to depression. Liza, Big Pun's wife, recalled how the rapper became incapacitated. She said he couldn't wear his clothes, use the bathroom, or get around. She became a home nurse for Big Pun, as she had to do everything for him. There was no doubt he was struggling to get by, but he still had the rap talent, and he never failed to wow his audience when it was time to perform. He never let his obese situation stop him from pursuing his dreams. He became one of the most sought-after artists in the 90s. Everyone wanted to work with Big Pun, and he was the sensation. He briefly appeared on Jennifer Lopez's Feelin' So Good with Fat Joe. Big Pun continued until something tragic stopped him. Did he have issues with his label? Did it have something to do with his weight? What happened to Big Pun after a sudden health crisis? Stay tuned. The demise of another hip-hop star. On the 7th of February 2000, Big Pun's demise hit the world. 2 days before, he was booked for a Saturday Live performance. He was supposed to appear on stage with Fat Joe and Jennifer Lopez, but he called to cancel. Big Pun said he wasn't feeling well. At the time, no one knew what was wrong with the legend. He was with his family at the Crowne Plaza Hotel, White Plains, New York. They stayed there temporarily as their house was being renovated. Big Pun suffered a heart attack and was having trouble breathing during their stay at the hotel. As he collapsed, Liza, his wife, called 911, but the emergency team could not help. Due to the severity, Big Pun was rushed to the White Plains Hospital, where he passed on after they failed to revive him on the 7th of February. An autopsy report showed Big Pun weighed 698 pounds, rounding up to 317 kg at the time of his demise. The rapper was nearly 700 pounds. The medical examiners reported his heart was 3 times larger than normal, all evidence pointing to the cause of his untimely departure from the world. Without warning or goodbye, Big Pun passed on at the age of 28. He was at the height of his career when he faced this tragic fate. He had made history as the first Latino rapper to go platinum. His album made waves in the hip-hop industry. He passed away 2 years after making history in hip-hop. His friends and family were horrified by the news of his demise. In an interview with Vice, Fat Joe said, "I was in Jersey in my house, the phone rang and it was his wife. She was like, 'He's gone, he's gone.' And I immediately knew. My whole body dropped." "We all felt guilty," Fat Joe continued. "We all felt like, was there something we could have done? We weren't educated on nutrition. We didn't really know what a carb was. We didn't know anything. My brother died. Toughest time of my life to this day." Fat Joe said they never saw it coming.
We still didn't believe, because he was young, that he was going to die or nothing like that.
They knew his weight was unhealthy, but they didn't project his demise because he was vibrant and full of life. In a documentary, one of his friends recounted that Big Pun would fall asleep mid-conversation. He said he was scared as he had never seen anything like that. He couldn't name what was happening to Big Pun, but knew it wasn't good. His sister also spoke about her fears of him losing his breath, as that happened often in his sleep. She was scared when she saw that for the first time, but his wife, Liza, wasn't. There were reports that Big Pun had a bed in the studio so he wouldn't have to get up or move around. It was a hassle, so stand up. Fat Joe was asked in an interview if he became scared of facing the same fate because he was also big, but he said no. As hefty as Fat Joe was, Big Pun weighed more.
He was way bigger. Pun was just really big.
Louis Romaine, one of Pun's friends, had an interview with Rolling Stone after Pun's demise. He said, "I was genuinely concerned about his health last summer as soon as he walked through the studio door. Unconfirmed reports of his attempts to lose weight eased my fears somewhat." He did not know Big Pun didn't pull through with his quest to lose weight. He didn't live to reminisce over his success. At the peak of his career, he passed on, leaving a gap in the world. With how he stormed the world with his art, everyone believed nothing could stop Big Pun. Little did we know a massive heart attack would get in the way of that. Big Pun's career was shortened, but he created work that outlived him. His fans were also devastated at the news of his demise. Over 9,000 fans were present in the wake of Big Pun. People came to pay their final respects to one of the hip-hop kings in history. As Big Pun's casket rolled out in a hearse, his song "Still Not a Playa" began playing, and everyone sang along. The world of hip-hop felt the demise of one of its stars. The Latino community was also present in his final moments, as they were while he was alive. They said he was not just a great artist and human, he was a source of pride to them. Big Pun left behind a wife and 3 children who soon faced harsh realities. They were broke and without money to survive. This didn't make any sense to many as the rapper had success with his singles and albums. What happened to all the money that he worked for? Wasn't it natural that his family had access to his wealth? What happened to his legacy? A troubled family. An unsettling event happened after the passing of Big Pun. In June 2005, his wife Liza auctioned an item belonging to Big Pun on eBay. It was his $100,000 custom Terror Squad medallion. It got people talking as to why she would need the money. Big Pun broke many records, and with that came money, but he didn't seem to receive any of it. At least that's what his family status implied after his demise. His wife had to auction his belongings as they were facing financial difficulties. There were reports that his family didn't receive any royalties from his album sales. It leaves us wondering who was getting all the money. Pun also had a troubled marriage and took his anger out by physically mistreating Liza. In his documentary footage, you could see Big Pun pistol whipping his wife. Was it all for the spotlight? Why would anyone love to show this side of themselves to the world if it was? His sister and grandmother spoke about his anger issues while growing up. They said it was really bad as he would punch into walls, burst his teeth, and even eat rocks to ease off his anger. Big Pun had a bad temper. He did not handle the issues from his childhood the right way. He let the anger consume him. And sadly, Liza, the love of his life, sometimes took the hit. A documentary about Big Pun was released in 2002, and it confirmed the issues the rapper faced as a child. He wasn't just homeless but experienced mistreatment at an early age. It's devastating to know that he never quite dealt with the mental issues from his childhood. It eventually led him down a dark path, cutting shut his blooming career. At the peak of his impact in hip-hop, he gave in to his health challenges. Legacy and posthumous achievements. The first monumental sign of honor to Big Pun was a large mural painting by a painting company called Tat's Crew. They chose to remember the icon by an artwork on a building in his neighborhood in the Bronx. Before Big Pun's demise, he worked on his second album, Yeah Baby. It was released in April 2000, giving his fans some form of closure to the Rap King. The album received the well-deserved honor as it topped number 3 on Billboard 200 and earned Big Pun a gold record status. He was still making an impact even after his passing. His record label didn't want Big Pun to be forgotten, so they honored him with a compilation of his work. It consisted of his previous features, guest appearances, greatest hits, and even songs he never released. The archive of the rapper's song was titled Endangered Species. It was a final farewell to the rapper. It also made a commercial success, showing that the rapper was a big shot even while he was long gone. One artist who paid deep respect to Big Pun was Cuban Link. They were friends while growing up and were in the same rap group back in the 90s. Big Pun had also featured in a few of his songs. Cuban loved Big Pun and celebrated his talent in hip-hop. After his passing, Cuban paid tribute to Big Pun in a song called Flowers for the Dead. In 2005, he released Letters to the Dead, another tribute song to Big Pun. Fat Joe never ceased to speak kindly about his friend. In one of his numerous interviews, he said, "People loved his charisma, his whole aura." Fat Joe later explained of his friend, "They would love his lyrics, his breath control, his being able to tongue twist so many words, his punchlines, his being able to make a song about pain and hurt, and being able to make a song about good times. He did it all." One failed attempt at paying tribute to Big Pun was the New York City Council stalling on renaming a little part of Rogers Place. Their reason was displeasure over Big Pun's lyrics, which cited mistreatment and substances. They felt it was a bad representation for them. Did you know a second album was set for release after Big Pun's demise? Sony Music Entertainment made the move in 2006, but it came to a halt over publishing rights. Producer John Benitez, famously known as Jelly Bean, owned most of the tracks on the album and didn't take sides with Sony Music. While some struggled to recognize the rap artist, others knew his value and lived with his legacy. In 2021, the East Fordham RD and Grand Concourse intersection was named Big Pun Plaza. Many high-profile individuals from the government, his friends, and family were present in the Bronx to celebrate this tribute to Big Pun. It's been 20 years since the world lost one of the pioneers of hip-hop. Big Pun is long gone, but he continues to inspire the people who knew him and honored his music. His rise to fame as a Latino artist changed cultural history forever. Today, rappers like Cardi B received a warm entrance into hip-hop because Big Pun first showed them it was possible. What do you think about Big Pun's life and tragic demise? Share your thoughts in the comments. Join us next time for more fascinating stories. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. You can also watch the other videos on your screen.